5 months after the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of the first Death Star, the Executor-Class Star Dreadnought left the shipyard at Fondor to crush the rebels at Yavin 4. This video, in no particular order, lists every featured Legends Imperial Navy crew member on board the Executor I could identify during its time in service, up to its destruction at the Battle of Endor in 4 ABY, and keep watching for some lesser known officers that are identified at the end of the video. So let's alert all commands and deploy the video. Admiral Admiral Griff was an ambitious naval officer assigned to be the first admiral of the Executor-Class vessel and oversaw the development and construction of the first dreadnought at the Fondor shipyard. The vain admiral lacked a sense of wrong and right and was always ready to take advantage of mistakes made by other officers. He was known for wearing expensive fur-brimmed coats in addition to his standard service uniform. He was a competent naval commander and possessed good knowledge of ground combat tactics. In 0 ABY, Griff, however, unsuccessfully prevented the Rebel Alliance from escaping Yavin 4 after the Imperial fleet blockaded the planet shortly after the first Death Star's destruction. He was killed later that year when he brought his fleet out of hyperspace and collided with the shields of Vader's flagship. Admiral Oel was formerly an officer of the Republic Grand Army during the Clone Wars, and after the formation of the Galactic Empire, Oel was eventually assigned as the captain of the Imperial Star Destroyer Reprisal and longed for a promotion to Admiral. Naval Command finally promoted him to the rank of Fleet Admiral of Vader's Death Squadron. However, his personality often put him at odds with Vader and Captain Piet. He was famously executed in 3 ABY by Vader for a tactical hyperspace blunder after reaching the planet Hoth, which the Sith Lord could no longer tolerate. In 3 ABY, Piet was originally made a captain aboard the Executor, whom before his death saw Admiral Oel as a pompous and incompetent senior officer. Piet was certainly ambitious, known for his quick thinking and his ability to shift the blame to other officers for their mistakes. He was famously promoted to the rank of Admiral of Death Squadron during Oel's execution, who held Piet in much higher regard as an Imperial Navy officer, and previously made sure Piet was assigned to the Executor. As the only Imperial officer to appear in 2 Star Wars movies as a favourite character with the fans, Admiral Piet was portrayed by British actor Kenneth Colley in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Maximillian Veers was a ruthless and aggressive Major General of the Galactic Empire's Imperial Army. As a promising ground assault officer, his courage earned him the respect of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and eventually Veers found himself promoted by Thrawn's recommendation to Major General by Vader over the heads of several high colonels, placing him in command of Death Squadron's ground troops. Veers lived up to both his reputation and Lord Vader's expectations by quickly deploying the armoured regiment into Echo Base's Mountain Valley and personally destroying the shield generator protecting the rebel base. Unfortunately for the Major General, his AT-AT cockpit was hit by a rebel snowspeeder and his legs were badly injured during the escape, forcing him to be confined to a hover chair for the rest of his life. Lieutenant Venker was a native of Coruscant. He was one of many non-commissioned personnel promoted to fill the huge void of officers lost after the first Death Star was destroyed. Venker's academy connections earned him the prestigious assignment to the Executor. The lieutenant was knowledgeable of Imperial Navy bureaucracy and had a mechanical ability in capital ship piloting and technical proficiency in capital ship repair. Venker felt his performance was worthy of a promotion to captain. However, after Firmus Piet's promotion to Fleet Admiral, he preferred to personally promote Lieutenant Garant to captain. For that, Venker secretly despised Piet's decision and believed the Admiral's abilities were questionable, but the lieutenant was still determined to perform his job to the best of his ability. Commander Merrick was assigned to the Executor Bridge operations. The commander was actually an elite spy for the Empire, often masquerading as a freighter captain to make supply runs to the Outer Rim territories. This allowed the Imperials to detect and watch any illegal rebel and criminal activities. Malortrell was a low-ranking droid technician who was actually a spy that had infiltrated the crew of the Executor for the Rebel Alliance prior to the Battle of Hoth in 3 ABY. His position on the vessel had allowed him to obtain data for the rebels, detailing the Imperial fleet's deployment movements. However, a senior bridge officer, Lieutenant Teneth Sorn, had uncovered evidence to suspect that Trell was actually working for the rebels. Realising his mission was under threat, Trell reprogrammed 4 labour droids to murder Sorn before the lieutenant could alert security. Before Trell escaped the Executor disguised as a stormtrooper, a member of the team investigating the lieutenant's murder confronted him. However, he offered for them to join the Alliance and escape with him. Lieutenant Commander Anya Furis was a female officer and a leading member of the investigation team assigned by Darth Vader to investigate the murder of Lieutenant Teneth Sorn. Furis was scheduled to meet with Zorn to discuss the evidence, but she was murdered before the meeting could take place. Lieutenant Lilith Aranda was a female officer who was born on the planet Alderaan. Since enlisting with the Imperial Navy, she had since learned her husband had been killed in the destruction of the planet by the Empire's first Death Star weapon. As a member of the investigation team into Lieutenant Sorn's murder, she confronted Malortrell while attempting to escape. When he offered her a chance to join the Alliance, she felt forced to accept, knowing her husband had been ruthlessly killed by the Empire she was serving. Zurel Hoban, Noah Endak, Iyek Shield, and Iraq Melvar were all junior members of the Executor's crew who were assigned by Darth Vader to investigate Lieutenant Sorn's murder. Lieutenant Subba served as the Executor's Chief of Security and Political Officer, responsible for ensuring the Imperial loyalty of his fellow officers, and frequently served Admiral Piet on the Executor's bridge. Although the lieutenant did not voice his opinion, Subba secretly disapproved of Vader's reluctance to kill the rebel Luke Skywalker. In 3 ABY during the Battle of Hoth, Subba assisted the investigation team with their inquiries. In his role as Chief of Security, Subba assisted the team assigned to investigate the murder by granting them access to Sorn's personal quarters. Commander Garant served as the Executor's captain and first officer after he was personally selected for promotion to the rank by Admiral Firmus Piet. Garant was responsible for preventing unauthorized access to sensitive areas of the Executor assembled in the Endor system to protect the second Death Star. The commander also assisted Piet to ambush the Rebel Alliance fleet at Endor, but was unaware of Piet's orders from the Emperor himself to simply trap the rebel capital ships in front of the Death Star so that the station's secretly operational superlaser could destroy the rebel capital ships one by one. As mentioned in a previous video I produced, Captain Goddard served on board the Executor as a fleet engineer and a key operator of signature sensors monitoring the Star Destroyer hulls. The captain was a brilliant fleet engineer and a sensor officer. Bridge Officer Joff, prior to the Battle of Endor, controlled the traffic around Endor. Joff was ordered by Piet to continue with the processing of an old code transmission from the shuttle Tiberian, carrying the rebel strike team attempting to sneak onto the moon's surface. Joff then deactivated the deflector shield and notified the shuttle, allowing them to make their desired landing on Endor. Also mentioned in a previous video I produced, Rear Admiral Charanow was originally an expert in the field of deep space transmission and also became an accomplished TIE pilot. Promoted to the naval rank of Rear Admiral at the request of Firmus Piet, Charanow served as Piet's personal advisor aboard the Executor. Chief Herdis served as a communication chief aboard the Executor and was one of the Imperial Navy's many communication specialists. He coordinated and monitored Star Destroyer fleet movements during challenging tactical situations. Chief Retwin, who was a former Imperial supervisor, originally worked for his home world's defence forces on Raltir. Retwin joined the Empire after the Imperial subjugation of Ratir, shortly before the Battle of Yavin. Retwin can be seen standing in silence with his eyes down working on a datapad, as Vader passed his position at the rear of the Executor's bridge. Lieutenant Cesius was a native planet of Vogel 7 and formerly of the Imperial Army. The lieutenant served as a bridge officer and he was a specialist in boarding tactics and seizing enemy starships. Cesius was given command of the capture of Luke Skywalker and the crew of the rebel freighter, the Millennium Falcon. However, before Cesius' boarding party could take control of the fugitive rebel ship, the freighter escaped into hyperspace. Lieutenant Truman was a bridge officer who over time developed a rivalry with fellow officer, the late Lieutenant Sorn. In 3 ABY, during the summoned bounty hunter's visit to the ship by Darth Vader, a freighter in the hangar bay was broadcasting a rebel code, which was detected by the Executor Bridge commander. Lieutenant Truman and his squad were ordered to apprehend the intruders, but the freighter's crew and the rebels opened fire and shot Truman in the chest at point-blank range. Commander Dezani was a native of Kalis 6. Due to a political blunder in 3 ABY, Commander Dezani was stripped of most official duties and relegated to shuttling dignitaries and high-ranking Imperial officers. After Darth Vader failed to catch Luke Skywalker on Cloud City, Vader had Dezani bring his shuttle to transport him to the Executor. Major Karu was a distinguished AT-AT Walker commander in the Imperial Army. While patrolling a backwater world, Karu's forces confronted the rebel commander Luke Skywalker, who was scouting the planet as a potential location for a rebel base. Major Karu was tasked by Vader with capturing him, but Skywalker escaped the world, leaving the Major to report the failure to Vader. Aboard the Executor, Karu reported the outcome of the skirmish to Vader, who, displeased, convinced the Major to step out of an airlock without his spacesuit. Major Karu's career was ended when he was sucked out into the vacuum of space. Ledry Oakin was one of the oldest admirals in the upper echelons of the Imperial Navy during the Galactic Civil War. A fiercely loyal subject of the Empire, He was a firm follower of Imperial regulations, and so even came to the favourable attention of Emperor Palpatine. Shortly after the Battle of Hoth, Admiral Oakin was aboard the Executor and led to a great victory for the Empire over the rebels by destroying a shipyard and its protective forces. Oakin died 2 years later in 5 ABY at the Collar system, while defending several core worlds from the New Republic's advancing forces. So that completes all identified officers aboard the Executor-Class Dreadnought from Legends material. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe for more Imperial videos. Thank you for watching, long live the Empire, and as always may the Force be with you.